Good morning. I am just a couple minutes earlier today, having some issues to connect. Maybe because of the rain, maybe because of some other things, but I hope, good morning, John. I hope that the internet will hold up. So let's give it a couple of minutes for everybody to join. Good morning, Anne. Good morning, Yanni. Good morning, Joey. Good morning, Mary. All right. Good morning, Gina. And by the way, today I would like us to include Gina in our energy dedication. Among those who you already including, who you want to include, but Gina has a pretty bad sinus infection that even goes into her eye. So she is suffering. And I just want to remind you that, lately we've been talking about the suffering that is so big and ubiquitous. And a lot of times we dismiss our own suffering and it seems small. It seems like, oh, I can take care of this because other people need it more or whatever. There are more global problems in the whole world, which is all true. Uh, but if this practice teaches us anything, it teaches us to look at our own suffering as much as suffering of other people's or beings, and also to see all suffering as suffering without judgment, whether it's big or small, quote unquote, important or insignificant. If you suffer, you suffer. Acknowledge that and send loving kindness to you. And ask for loving kindness from others if you feel so inclined. There is absolutely no shame in that. In fact, it's a healthy thing to do. So just wanted to leave it for you because I hear a lot this, um, especially when we have a lot of what we call privilege, right? We have shelter, we have jobs or retirement money, or we have food, we have like extra things. And when we look at the suffering of the world, we're like, oh my God, like our suffering is so insignificant. No, it's not. Suffering is suffering. Yours, everybody else's. And remember, we're dissolving the boundaries between the internal and external. So your suffering is the suffering of the world, however small it seems to you. Anyway, let's start, well, really continue our exploration of active compassion today. And we will discuss how we can put compassion into action in a very practical way in our life once again. So at some point, the Buddha gave a teaching known as the precious human birth, in which he described how rare and how precious it is to take birth as a human in the vast cosmological scheme of things. And then as a human, how rare it is and how precious it is to experience just the right mixture of pleasure and pain to undertake deep spiritual journey. If there is too much pain in our lives, then we are overwhelmed. And really, the only thing we can do and need to do is to concentrate only on how to survive each day. So there is really no space for spiritual growth because we are constantly concentrating on the basics. If there is too much pleasure in our life, then we may get lazy and not have the motivating spark to look for meaning in our life. And really, why? Why look for anything if you already have everything you think you need? Usually, a spiritual path starts when we're in some sort of pain, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, when we cannot find this meaning in life and long for something deeper, bigger. This teaching of the precious human birth fosters compassion in two ways. First, we can commit ourselves to creating for all others the kind of environment in which there is space and time enough for spiritual opening. And second, if we see people, no matter what their worldly circumstances, if they see them squander the precious opportunity for awakening in this brief human life, we can be moved to compassion for them. When we live with this awareness that every human birth every human life is precious and rare, every aspect of our lives can be an opportunity for compassion. Even a very simple action may be an extraordinary expression of the compassionate heart. Sometimes we think that to be truly compassionate, we all have to be Mother Teresa. But we can look at the very simple things we do in our lives in order to see what do they reflect about our relationship to pain. Do they reflect an understanding of pain or this desire to flee from pain? Are we looking at the various conditions making up a given situation, like we talked yesterday? Are we looking at the context of the unskillful behavior? Even very, very simple action can make a huge difference. Yeah, that's true. We may not be able to take away the mass of somebody's suffering, but we can be present for them. And even if through our small act of being present, without trying to fix anything, just being there for the person, somebody suddenly doesn't feel as alone in their suffering as they once did. And this is a very great offering. Whatever life presents to us, our response can be an expression of our compassion. Whether someone speaks truthfully to us or deceitfully, harshly or gently, we might respond with a loving mind. This is also an act of compassionate service. According to the Buddha, to develop compassion, it is important to consider the human condition on every level, personal, social, and political. Once the Buddha described a king who decided to give over his kingdom to his son, and he instructed him to be both righteous and generous in his new role of a king. As time went on, although the new king took care to be um, fair, he neglected to be generous. People became much poorer in his kingdom, and thievery increased. The king tried to suppress this thievery by instituting many harsh punishments. In commenting on this story, the Buddha pointed out how unsuccessful these punishments were. He went on to say that in order to suppress crime, the economic conditions of the people needed to be improved. And he talked about how grain and agricultural help should be provided for farmers, capital should be provided for traders, and adequate wages should be given to those who are employed. The Buddha's advice was to see the conditions that have come together to create the context in which people behave in a certain way, and then to change those conditions. He said, "It is much easier to be moral if one's life is secure in some way, and much more difficult to refrain from stealing if one's children or parents are hungry. Thus, our commitment should be to create conditions so that people can more easily be moral." So the Buddha encouraged us to see our very lives as vehicles to bring happiness, to bring peace, for the benefits of all beings in very, very practical terms, as you can see. And this teaching dictates no specific expression of compassion. You can take up your umbrella with all the loving kindness in your heart and hit somebody over the head with it if they deserve it. Or you may renounce the worldly life and live as a monk, which does not mean that you are detaching yourself from life completely and renouncing love for all beings. There are so many possibilities to express compassion. The compassionate act does not have to be grandiose. The very simple action of love, of opening to people, of offering somebody food, of saying hello, of asking what happened, of really being present, all are very powerful expressions of compassion. Compassion moves us to respond to pain, and our own wisdom guides the skillfulness of that response, telling us when and how to respond. Through compassion, our lives become an expression of all that we understand and care about, all that we value. Compassion arises from seeing the truth of suffering and opening to it. Out of it arises a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning so strong in our lives that no matter what the circumstances, no matter what the situation, our goal, our greatest desire at any moment is to express genuine love. And our inherent capacity for love can never be destroyed. Just as the whole earth cannot be destroyed by someone repeatedly hurling themselves against it, so too a compassionate heart will not be destroyed in an onslaught of adversity. In practicing compassion, we develop a mind that is vast and free from enmity. This is boundless, unconditioned love. So let's explore this together. Take a comfortable position, and as usual, take a few moments to acknowledge the circumstances of your practice. The outer circumstances, the inner circumstances, with each breath dissolving the boundaries between the inner and the outer, reminding yourself of our interconnectedness, our oneness. Let your body be soft and effortless. Scan your body. With each breath out, grounding a little bit more, reminding yourself that you are supported by the earth always. It's up to you to use this support or forget about it. And in the past couple of days, we've already done a compassion practice toward a person in great pain and also a challenging person who has caused pain to us. Today, we will focus on someone who is causing harm in the world, the way we understand it. As usual, start by sending kindness to yourself. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well in body and mind. May I be happy, healthy, and at ease. May I feel deep, natural peace. And now pick a person or a group who, in your opinion, causes harm in the world. This may be your least favorite political leader, or all those who follow a particular course of action that you don't necessarily approve of. This is not an easy practice, but it can revolutionize your understanding of compassion. So see if you can pick this person or this group of people without the immediate judgment. Just pick them as the object of your meditation. And begin directing your compassion phrase to this person or this group of people. And remember, compassion phrase could be just one line or two lines. Something like, may you be free from pain. May you find peace. Or whatever phrase resonates best with you. I'll give you a few moments to do that. As you're doing this practice, notice how judgment inevitably arises. It's okay, it's natural. See if you can go past this judgment and remind yourself that no matter what you think about this person or this group of people, they too deserve to be at peace. And also reflect on the concept that causing harm to others inevitably means creating harm for oneself, whether it's now or in the future or both. So seeing someone lie, steal, hurt others can bring compassion into your heart, because you know that by hurting somebody else, they inevitably hurt themselves. So send loving kindness to them through your compassionate phrase. May you be free from pain. May you find peace, or whatever your phrase is. Again, if you feel the judgment or condemnation that you're experiencing just isn't going away, maybe you can revise your perceptions to spring out of equanimity that we talked about in the past couple of days, which means to see the world not in terms of good versus bad, right versus wrong, but only in terms of suffering versus the end of suffering. And to see the world in these terms of suffering and the end of suffering is called Buddha mind. This will gradually lead us away from righteousness and anger. So see if you can get in touch, even for a few moments, with your own Buddha mind. And maybe you will uncover a healing force of compassion. Continue directing your compassion phrase to that person or group. May you be free from pain. May you find peace. And as we complete our practice, I just want to share one final point. Remember that you don't need to justify why you are doing compassion practice towards people who are challenging, who are doing harm in the world. Remember that compassion does not need to justify itself. Compassion is its own reason for being, and it brings healing for you and for the entire world. May you be free from pain. May you find peace. Thank you so much for being here. My apologies that the practice went a little bit longer than usual because of my snafu with the internet. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you tomorrow.